All right, thanks for joining us today. We're getting ready to do our afternoon video, and I wanted to address a comment from earlier about the shaving cut here on my face. I wasn't attempting to shave my eyeball. Sometimes shaving cream is a little high, and the razor goes up because you want to get a little bit of that shaving cream down. But anyways, today's video is going to be about inflation and how that affects the whole market. We previously talked about the housing market is being super inflated. And here we are arriving in the holiday seasons, and we're very close to Thanksgiving. So turkeys are now worth more than gold bars at an inflation rate of 70% or more. There are certain stores right now attempting to sell turkeys at roughly $10 and $20 a pound. If you go to places like Etsy and you let one of those lunatics cook the turkey for you, you may pay a half a grand. Or if you take it to your local fryer, like KFC or Popeye's Chicken or Church's Chicken or whatever you got locally, those guys want a couple $100. I guess they figure the oil costs that. I don't know. But either way, I don't know a lot of people that enjoy the taste of turkey to start with. I don't know why we needlessly slaughter millions of turkeys every year just for one day out of the year. And then what's more appalling is the rather racist advertisements, the turkey with the Indian feathers and shit. I thought we were going to stop doing that. And so we have turkeys dressed up with colonial hats. And so I just think that needs to stop. Okay. If Thanksgiving being the day to celebrate with close friends and family should be about that, not people that died 300 years ago, and certainly should involve Indians. Okay. Though I believe that the American Indian population of our country deserve a little bit more dignity than the shit they're pulling at the grocery store right now. So beyond inflation at 3%, we're at the highest level, and it's going to continue to rise. Grocery prices are soaring, and I think there's roughly 50 million Americans right now either getting food stamps or trying to work on getting that, along with all the other changes. So your dollar isn't going to go that far right now at the grocery stores, depending on the ones you go to, because a lot of what's out there, including beef, is up. If you attempt to buy anything at chocolate, you're at 16% inflation, over 70% in the turkey aisle. And you'd be better off getting out your rod and reel and just going down a local river and maybe catch a bass or a catfish or whatever you eat, because the minute you get into the grocery store, they're like cat burglars. They're running all kinds of sales that aren't sales at all. They mark it up to mark it down, and you're actually paying more. You're paying more than normal price now, and the game has just gotten really bad. So the ads, most of you have noticed, there's a tremendous number of ads out, and every time you get on the internet, you're bombarded by all these crazy sales, and these sales are all inflated terribly. So I kind of feel like Americans celebrate Thanksgiving and Christmas almost the day after, because that's the only way you're going to get likely a reasonable or even close to honest price with the amount of inflation. So why is inflation so important? Well, it's not that important to the middle class and the uppity class or the wealthy rich and the billionaires when you have trillions of dollars. But for the rest of America, roughly a third of America that doesn't necessarily have a high income, inflation plays a big role. People struggling to pay rent. People are struggling to even keep their house right now. And, we're going to raise the turkey 70%. Look, that damn bird ain't worth that, okay? I'm not having that shit. Okay. I'll cook something up. I'll go out to the grill and just cook up something regular from the house and just going about my business, We're getting tied into a logic in America where we traditionally tried to celebrate these holidays. Stores have learned that we're all like a bunch of ants. We follow suit. We hear the word Thanksgiving. It means we have to do specific things, and the stores know that. And so by design, these stores have been raising prices. But when you've got 6 years of inflation turning into super inflation, they're looking to rob right now. And anybody that's foolish enough to fool with that is going to find out, where they're going, because this is a chance to be overly profitable. There are thousands of videos right now of stores and otherwise just laughing this off. They're glad to steal from you, and that's what it feels like. And also I understand that President Trump has released some of the tariffs on some goods, including beef and possibly a few other things, but it may be a little bit too late. So what I'm saying is, holidays are fine to have, but the core of what these holidays are really don't have anything to do with turkeys and Santa Claus. Thanksgiving has to do with the care and welfare of friends and family and even your pets. Christmas has a lot more to do with God, if you believe in Him. We've got to get away from the monetized holiday. We have to think in consideration of that because this is an opportunity for stores to rob you. Okay. I understand there's just desperate need to buy all these gifts and different things, but it's forced menagerie with this. We've gotten so locked into doing something that we're willing to blindly blow all our fucking money for the year on that. And then by the time you're barbecuing around Christmas, right, and you're licking your fingers until your IRS check comes in, you guys put yourself in debt, often with family members and so on you don't even like. You're sitting around a dinner table trying to resolve your issues, and many more things happen, not including the surreal number of DUIs and people drinking and driving. So I'm asking people to consider stepping back from their holidays a bit and think about that. Is this really a good reason to put yourself? Do you go out and spend $1,000 on the Easter egg bunny? He isn't real either. We're losing the vision of what these holidays mean, and inflation loves to choke America. It's choking us bad, and everybody wants a piece of this pie. As an example, I tried to interview a new lady to help us clean, both in the office at my home, and she tried to command a price of $300 for 2 hours. Now she's charging surgical rates. She got her PhD out of the bubblegum machine, and now she'd like to swing her toy mop in my house. And she wants to bill at $200-300 an hour. We've allowed this obsession of ignorant ass people to do this, and so we're fanning a fire nationwide that everybody deserves something. I spent about half the day yesterday watching Uber Eats, Uber, and other delivery services, and all the videos were told on how to rob people tips. I feel I deserve a $55 tip for delivering, a large fry, and they felt quite comfortable with that dialogue. They somehow were entitled to these things. And so we're in America where you got to tip everybody. You flush the toilet, and the toilet's asking for a tip. It wants you to run a credit card. Did you have a good shit today? Please enter your credit card. It's everywhere. I was at the car wash the other day, electronic car wash. Okay, involves no humans. Young man walks up. You need help with the computer? I said no. He goes, would you like to leave a tip to who? To the machine? And so it's this ambiguous thing. So inflation. Moving into the tip nation. Look, if you've got a shitty job, okay, you put your ass there. Nobody in America puts your ass there. If you skip college, then the only asshole in the room to blame is you. Okay, that's not a self entitlement to be paid hundreds of dollars, and I feel that this is grown out of control. I understand good business, but it's all just spinning out of control. And this year, as we enter a year at some of the highest inflation since the pandemic, and there's no clear sight of the end of it. And so my concern here is not so much for the average Americans, whether you're low class, middle class, upper class, uppity, rich or wealthy. My concern is for those that may not have a great deal, that are on fixed incomes, and seniors that may need to be able to use cleaning services and other services, but yet we're out here scamming people for hundreds of dollars for very little work and zero quality as far as education. How many maids have you hired that went to an Ivy League school, right? So a lot of this is just nuts, and I have some big concerns about it. Of course, I appreciate and any service person out there, and you can have all the illusions you want about what you think you should be earning, what your time is worth, but you cannot command what people are going to spend. But through inflation, this allows this deceitful behavior to go on. And so I'm wondering how we're going to move into 2026 with this kind of inflation, where it's actually cheaper to go to a steak restaurant than it is McDonald's. Did you ever think you'd ever see the reverse of the market that bad? I went to a restaurant today, purchased a burger meal, okay, medium rare, $15.99. Do you know that same meal at McDonald's would cost me just $1 less? Okay, that air burger and the horse is probably in it. You see my point? It's actually more. It's probably wiser and cheaper to just simply go to high-end restaurants and eat a meal than it would be for you to stick by the Chicken Hut, the Taco Bell, Burger King, because now fast food has inflated so badly that it is now asking for prices the same as you would if you went into an ordinary restaurant. And so we've crossed that threshold because of inflation. Furthermore, landlords are already got the carving knife out and the carving fork, and they're sharpening their knives for new rents next year. And many of you are not going to be able to sustain another hit to rent. For those of you that may live in a low-income housing, affordable housing, Section 8, may have emergency housing voucher, so on, we cannot, at the current pace of 3 to 7% raises every year, which equates to about a couple $100. It means that most people, besides middle-class America, are going to be priced out of just about all rentals on the market, unless you live somewhere in the deep South or possibly in a limited number of, middle America, as I always like to say, the Midwest. And even there, it's become absurd at this point. So I think the video is just talking about some of the real things we're going through, and trying to figure out how to spend money without having a cat burglar, rob us blind through the process. Man, you got a quiet bunch today. I thought it feels like I'm making a video about strippers or something. Nobody's commenting. So, behold, if good afternoon. Thanks for joining us today. I guess everybody's still at work, right? So I only see about 27 viewers on. It's probably the lowest number I've seen in about 4 to 10 years. So either YouTube doesn't like me, or maybe it's not a popular topic. Maybe everybody's choked down on inflation, but I'm pretty sure that is the news of the hour across the nation, is we're all trying to figure out how the hell to go anywhere. Even the mechanics trying to get you, more than normal. Look, I don't need a Santa Claus sticker on my brake job and then you double bubble the price. I mean, everybody's in the game now. It's crazy. The grocery stores turned into the mafia. They'll have you believe they're living on razor thin margins. Well, honey, if you're charging an extra $100 for turkey, your profits aren't that razor thin. Not to mention some of these scam sales they like to run. And then I heard today another store, one of the last few department stores in the nation that's even managed to outlive Amazon, is closing down, Saks Fifth Avenue. I mean, we're down to what, 3 department stores nationwide? I mean, they have killed every business out there. I mean, you shop is pretty much going to be on a hot boat from China these days. We got J.C. Penney's, but it's a private equity group, right? You got Sears, private equity now. It's not even Sears. It just has the name Sears. It's kind of like a con artist just bought the name. And so these are not even the same stores. Marshall, all of them gone. The only thing you drive out, leave your home, you can get gas and visit with the gas attendant. You can go down to the fast food trash. And to be honest with you, I'm starting to see the fall of many dominoes when it comes to fast food. A lot of them aren't making it because people don't want to eat the unhealthy trash anymore. So I'm wondering how long before Subway, McDonald's, and Pizza Hut, and all the rest start to fail, or consolidate, because if Amazon gets in the pizza, chicken, and burger game, that's going to be into that. I mean, there won't be nothing left. When you take a drive during the week, it'd be to work or to church. That's it. And then, I didn't think I'd live long enough to see this craziness, but I'm watching it, and I thought the pandemic left town, and it did. What is going on? Really? And we're going to justify a 70% spike in a damn turkey that nobody really likes. There's a few weirdos here, right? Yeah, let me get some turkey. Go have a ham, man. We have lots of pigs, have a little ham. I'm sure you won't spend $200 doing that. Hey, Bunny, thanks for joining the channel. Rankin, hey, buddy. So I don't know what all you guys, anybody want to comment what they're going to be having for Thanksgiving, if you even celebrate that? Who here's, speak up if you're going to have a ham, a turkey, a chicken, if you're going to fire up the grill, or you're going to go down to the steakhouse, or what? Anybody got plans? It's a live chat, just in case you guys didn't know that. You can hop in anytime. I won't bite. All right, well, Buddy says a turkey sandwich. Damn you. Did we just discuss that? No turkey? But if that's what you like, good. We got candy apples. You're going to have a stomach ache, brother. You eat candy apples for dinner. You know, I got a grill out back behind the house. I might pull out some stuff that I bought at a reasonable cost 5 months ago and put it on the grill. I know the cats will love it. They love when I grill. They love even more when I tiptoe up to the bathroom, because don't think they won't put a claw in something. And Grandma Gracie, my 26-year-old cat, that's nearly 20 pounds, because she does not want to get on the Jenny Craig plan. Old girl, I ordered a pizza. You know, she got her claw in that pizza. By the time I got 11 feet from my bedroom to the bathroom and back, she dragged a whole fucking large pizza under the bed. That really did challenge my ability to love and care for cats at that point. So I had to fish a pizza from under the bed and fuck the carpet. Well, there was Gracie. All she wanted was to lick a pepperoni. We learned now that if we bring any fast food in the house, I'll give a little bit, just enough for them to lick, because it's not healthy for them to eat that garbage, but it's probably not healthy for me either, because if I get any bigger, I'm going to blow up. But yeah, so $30, and the $30 pizza, right, under the bed. Not to mention when Bunny's around, if you bring a little fried chicken around, he will eat salad dressing. He drinks tea and coffee. You think you were visiting with your aunt or uncle. Bunny will eat anything. You know, I had a ham sandwich out. The only thing I had left was a half a piece of bread, but that cat took all. This is how you go. You go hungry at my house, because you can't leave shit on the table. You leave a banana, Bunny's got it. He's under the bed, and you try to grab it, you get the claw. So I am a dog mom of 3, and we all love turkey. I'm making a full dinner for you. Okay, well, you know, hey, that sounds great. I hope you got a good price on turkey. Turkey lurkey. Got the old gobbler. Christina, thank you for all the emojis, popcorns and smileys and key cats. Behold it. Just love spending time with my family. I'm a great grandma. God is good. My 23-year-old grandson said he will cook. Now, you know, you're doing all that stuff with them grandkids. Just say it. When my grandparents were around, the biggest thing was the grandkids, man. Their own kids, well, that was kind of average. That's what it's all about, man. You know, your grandkids and getting together and shooting the breeze. And, well, you know, for those families that have it good like that. But a lot of it has to do with the grandkids. I know my grandmother favored me over her own children. Boy, she drive my mother and my uncle crazy. They couldn't get $1 out of her. My grandmother, she'd go right down the bank. She'd give you anything you want, you know. I don't know why that is, but that's just how family works sometimes. Christina Gang goes on. One Thanksgiving, we put the turkey on the counter thaw. The next morning, it was a wishbone, and even the plastic was gone. You know, I had a similar deal. Before my mother passed away on January 25th of this year in my house, the prior year, we tried to do turkey. Now, my mother was a native of Louisiana, and she was very much the vision of what you might imagine as a simple Cajun woman. She may not have been the brightest bulb in the batch, but that was mom, you know. We all as humans have different characteristics, some to care more and others to be smarter than others, but that was mom. God rest her soul. We got the turkey out, and I bought all the expensive shit to put stuff together, you know, special knives, and even had a turkey bowl with a silver turkey on it. Got through all that shit, and, you know, the reason I had to move mom in was because her and her husband had reached, not an advanced age, but an older age, and they were starting to slip into mind. They damn near burned the place down, and so my stepfather, which was her husband at the time, ended up going off to the VA as a veteran. And my mother, I had to move in the house because, she'd start a stove and just leave it going and not remember it for 2 hours. So her mom was leaving her, and so I felt best to keep her around. I already care for cats. So it was quite suitable to have mom around, forgetting everything everywhere. I mean, for us to go to a store, we had to do a key check, wallet check, we had everything check, because you get down the street and discover mom left everything. That's just how she was. But yep, we get halfway through dealing the turkey for Turkey Day, and I rip up the oven, trying to give mom a little platitude there. And there's a turkey upside down, half cooked as usual. And I remember getting really mad about that and almost launching the turkey across the room in the kitchen sink, because I was just trying to have that perfect little holiday thing going. But in the end, it was more important to me to focus more on what it was about of the holiday, not the turkey. Sometimes it's easy to lose your way with that in your mind. We're all trying to have that normal walk. We're all painting in that perfect family meeting. So I'm glad she's not here to see so much inflation these days and break her heart. She was a absolute dollar store nut. She spent all of her money on cheap trash. I know that because after she passed, I saw where all her Social Security and other things went. She liked buying trinkets, much of which she gave away to neighborhood kids. It was her thing. And I tried to get her to stop being a hoarder for a long time. And let me tell you, that room was chaos when I got in there. She had a little pack rat, but that was mom. And those little things made her feel good, and that was her deal. But I tell you, one additional thing about her is you could drive into town, whether I went to the gas station, Walmart, the bank, anywhere, and she was a very memorable personality. Everybody knew her by name. I was unaware of that because I didn't often ride with her. I had to cut off her driving privileges eventually because she rammed the front of the truck, then she rammed the back of the truck, then the left side, then the right side. So we literally just damaged the truck all the way around. And but I remember after she passed, people started asking, well, where's your mom at? And I said, well, you didn't know? And then they tell me these stories about her. She left quite the impression in the town and did so with very little money. I mean, people just remember her caring about everybody and wanting to talk and just generally gave a shit about you. Kind of reminds me of myself, but I could never be her. I could never own what my mother is. We do share some of the genetics. I cared to a point. She was a little bit more free wielding than I was. So that was the story on mom, right? Here we go, sharing a little holiday story, another part of my personal life that I put right out in the street for everybody. That's how sometimes Cajuns can be. We can be friendly, we can be a lot of things. We've had too much to drink, we can be mean as hell as well. Moving on down. Melissa, Walmart had a turkey for 88 cents. Damn, you better check that tag twice. That sounds like a mistake. But if you got it, good for you. That's a hot deal. Bunny, great price. Karen knows. Good evening, Jay. Oh, good evening to you. Well, it doesn't look like we have too many comments here, but I'm glad that I was able to bend a little bit about the inflation. I think that at some point I would like inflation. I like the country to return to normal in the next 3-4 years. 10 years of this is a lot to deal with. And I understand for many that were low paid, this is an opportunity to bring up wages to a fair rate through inflation. But I just think it's a bad way to do that because it leaves an awful taste in everybody's mouth. So it's a double-edged sword. But we can't, as a nation, continue to ride super inflation like this through rents and food and everything, because it's starting to fall out and has left the low income and is now in the middle America. And as we continue to push these big old prices, it's putting people out of living into survival mode. Because there's two different ways to live. There's surviving and then there's actual living. And of course, for the wealthy, enjoying, right? The third tier. Most of us if you're lucky, you get to the livable point. Even I've had to cut back myself, consider I own a company, I own several. I've had to close two and I'm retiring from another. And I've had to cut back tremendously, because in the end, if the last domino falls, I'll make sure I have enough money to keep me going and, of course, my cats and not much more. Because that's how it goes. I put my money where I care. I'm not going to defend my iPhone or the computer or even the office. I'm going to reserve my money for the things that deserve. the love and care and interest of myself, and that will likely be the cats. So while this video ain't much, I'm going to say this for those of you that tune in tomorrow. We're going to return to normal videos, and they're going to be a little bit shorter than normal. I'm hoping to address some educational for you guys in terms, those of you that are here to get a complex understanding of new policies and rules for 2026. We're talking a bit more about time limits and work requirements for both food benefits as well as housing, how to navigate that as well. The many changes as I retire for January 1st. And if you have casework with our office currently, don't worry, okay? I'm not going to close the office, run off with your money, and then take the cats and I to the Bahamas, though it's tempting. I'm not, I'm not going to do that. I'll continue the long-term cases. But in January, starting, Monday, we're only going to offer casework as short-term, 6 months, but at a greatly reduced rate. It'll be half of what it's been. And that's going to be extremely helpful for many of you because the new system does not require such a long period. Originally in my career, we offered casework for as little as $250. That evolved to nearly $1,000 as things become more and more serious. The pandemic pushed us in the red zone is what happened. And then with the inflation and everything else, it pushed it real high. At one point, casework was almost $1,200. Okay. And that's a lot of money for anybody, especially on the income. So our rates will be cut in half for next year. But I'm only selecting 4 people out of many. I'm only, it's 95 retirement and only 5% casework. In other words, 4 cases a month. And our office, I'll say me, the office as of January 1st will be closed. I'll operate from a home office and I take short calls. That's it. This is more of a side project than anything. And I'm not selling the company or its proprietary stuff to any multinational company because everyone that I spoke to wanted to monetize the ever-living shit out of this. And if you think I'm expensive, if I had sold this to any number of these companies, yeah, it would have enriched my pocket probably to cover me for 15 years. But look, what they would have done is they would have only served the wealthy, and that's just the core of what I absolutely cannot stand. They want to raise prices and only serve the 1%. So we want to deal with the low income that have a little bit of savings or assets kind of deal. And so the last one I refused, and I even had a lobbyist group try to buy my company. They hid themselves through several LLCs. I traced them all the way back to California. It turns out it was a lobbyist group. They wanted to buy the rights to the company so they could ride my coattail and career into the wind and then make this about politics. And so I refused. It's interesting because I didn't see that coming. I really didn't. They started questioning me and they wanted capital reports and everything else about the company, what we made. And then the first thing out of the guy's mouth was, here's all the new ways we're going to make money. I was thinking, boy, you really don't know Section 8, do you? If you think these people are going to give you all that money, you're crazy. Okay? And if you're hard into it, these people ain't going to mess with you. So in the end, Section8Consulting.com is trademarks, proprietary materials, and everything else will go quietly in the night because I'm not going to sell it to a multinational. I haven't any interest in it. I'm not going to have them tarnish and take a shit on the reputation of my company to further enrich the corporate world. And that's all they wanted. They wanted, just like when they bought Sears and JCPenney, they kept the name, they changed the game, and they upped the price, and they started all the funky sales, right? I'm not interested. So by proxy, I will continue to consult lightly here and there and then try to help people through the new systems, but it simply will not be the entire focus of my life anymore after doing this so long. So I thought you guys would like to know. And roughly 5, maybe 6 weeks, the vast majority of Section 8 Consulting, its YouTube channel, its assets, and everything else will likely be put on the market, the parts that are non-critical, and then I will retain all its rights and assets and continue to consult and do a limited number of cases for people. But for the most part, as we existed all these years, we will no longer exist in that capacity. It'll just be me. It means casework will be slower. It means that There'll be a lot more videos, and I will be able to be much more candid in the way that I talk in our channel as well as through the company, because I don't really need to mute myself, because I'm not looking to abide by federal rules or be hushed. That's why you notice such a drastic change in the nature of my conversation through many of these late videos. I don't have the same constraints blocking me and silencing me, because I'm not worried about HUD. I'm not worried about the feds anymore. That's what a retirement allows, is I don't need to worry about those things that can muzzle me as it has. It also means I can probably publish some pretty damning things, but I'm only willing to publish damning things if I feel that it's to the benefit of the American public in terms of getting housing. I'm not going to simply go out there and wage a war against the U.S. government, okay? So there won't be any extremist videos. And then I'm hoping we're going to diversify the channel and cover a little bit more broad topics, including all the things that, are necessarily included in low-income individuals: housing, food, and securities, and other things. Though instrumentally, the things that I talk about mostly will be geared towards housing itself, because that is the most critical asset of any human, is the ability to have a roof over your head. And it's a benefit not to just low class and low income. It's also beneficial to middle class and even the wealthy, because everybody knows somebody that may not have a lot of money. Not everybody in the family can be rich, and so my often is frequently contacted not only by social workers, city government, uh, as well as families and court systems, trying to find solutions for housing, and they'll frequently reach out to me. I've dealt with a lot of families that may have grown children that may be struggling with addiction and other things, and so that's a potential we can sort out their mess and then likely get them housed. Since operably everything is going to change in 2026, it means that we're looking at a new solution, but we're looking at a market that has hyperinflation. So that is the reason of the video. I mean, many are like, hey, Jay, aren't you a Section 8 consultant at the federal level? Why the hell are you talking about inflation? Well, it's simple. Inflation and housing run hand in hand. Besides that, we need to expand our view, the scope of everything. I've been very limited in my nature to publish videos, and to be honest with you, it's rather tiring. I don't just want to cover housing, because so many things are connected to this, especially when an American citizen is struggling. They're not just struggling with housing, they're struggling with rents and food and everything else. And so all these things are naturally tied together. So it seems rather reminiscent on my part to have excluded those things, though I'm not consulting in those areas. So we're going to bring that to the table and see how you guys digest it, at least from the level that I do. And I'm known to be a wild card, because I don't care necessarily about YouTube and profanities. I understand YouTube has got rules and policies, but I'm not going to let a corporation rob me of my ability to be genuine either. And so I'm not going to be silenced by that. Though respectfully, I will follow YouTube's rules. If you're looking for a middle-aged white dude to speak in monotone and practice YouTube religious rules in such a way that prevents me from being real, then I'll just kill the channel, okay? Otherwise, I prefer serving up my way, which is a little bit of reality, a lot of genuine, and discussing those topics that are important to so many of us, and even those of you that have family members that may not be doing as well as you. Every family's got the high and the low. And families are mixed. That's why I say it affects all of America. Those in need often run the family members that have not go to the have. And so this channel services the middle class, the top class, and the low class, Democrats and Republicans. I promise I don't even ask in the case of, are you a Democrat? I don't ask for your voter card. Whether if you're at the street light with a change cup or you're a hooker spinning around the light, it makes a little difference to me. The only time it matters to me is if you're struggling with drugs and alcohol. You've got to be sober before my office can help you. I'm not going to take on active drug users, because it's pointless. It's a waste of the American tax dollar, and it's fraud. So that being said, I think we've covered such a wide range today. And turkey inflation, the stores robbing and ripping, facing our new holidays. And so I'm wondering how this is going to play out for the next year. I'm hoping we're going to have a good 2026. I hope that We quickly transition the housing system over to something that's usable, that's reasonable, that's quicker to use, and I hope that we're not going to put several million people on the streets. Because if we do, there aren't many people left that are going to be able to help with that. Where, a lot of the continuum care programs nationwide are starting to close down and they're no longer getting funding. So that means even less of us are out there. And of those that are left, only a small portion of them actually give a damn. You heard me right. There's lots of people that are caseworkers and counselors that do their job and are really good. It doesn't mean they care. I've always tried to distinguish myself between them because I actually do care what happens to humans until you upset me. So, Muskogee Land, I'm glad you jumped in here, brother. Rankin, bye-bye. Have a good evening. Well, thank you so much. Maggie Smith, I'm having Denny's. Don't know if we, Denny's is open on Thanksgiving, isn't it? Okay. Maggie Smith goes on, I listened to another YouTuber that refers to himself as salty. Well, you call me spicy. I'm all over the map with it, I have no filter. I prefer it that way. Peace y'all out. Turkey. Well, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. There's no reason to sit here and ramble too long. I just wanted to kind of jump in there. I knew you guys would be lonely tonight, so I thought I'd lend you my deep voice and a little nonsense for inflation to keep you warm tonight while we move on to tomorrow about more serious issues. And Money goes, laughing out loud, I'm saying, way, Denny's was sold solid. Of course. And Rankin says, haha. All right, well, we'll see you tomorrow morning. It depends on when I roll up the mattress, but it could be at 7 in the morning, 8, 9, who knows? And I've been doing videos earlier in the day because my cats keep making big messes. So I have to spend my afternoons not watching as the world turns, but cleaning up cat shit, cat litter, and the little messes they make around the house. I can tell you the joys of moving back into the house, move the office there, and then I'll have my cats really take it full advantage of me. It'd be like a prison cell. I'm going to end up having to move my office in the attic where they can't get to me because they're going to drive me crazy. I can already see how this shit's going to go down. So, but anyways, I've enjoyed talking with you guys. Enjoy your afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow and tomorrow afternoon. All right. Bye-bye for now.